everyone. Welcome to another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg. And I'm your host, Steve Rozenberg. This is where we talk about real business, real life, and really real situations. Now, I think a lot of people, they want to start a business so that they can have a certain life, right? I mean, we don't just say that we want to start a business. Well, maybe some people do because we think we could do it better than someone else, or maybe we think we can make more money than the person that we work for. Maybe we just think the person we're working for is an asshole and we don't want to deal with them anymore. There's many reasons why people start a business. But I think if you take it a step further, why we're starting a business is because we want to have that freedom, right? We perceive when we have a job that job is constricting us, and we're basically trading our time for money, which is called a paycheck. And a boss who hires you is saying that your life and your skills are worth $20 an hour, $50 an hour. And that's what you're worth to them. And they pay you for your time, 8 hours a day, and you trade that. Many times when you're starting a business, you do that because you don't want that life anymore. You want the freedom, or I would say the perceived freedom of what it is that you think your boss has, right? So you go ahead and you start a business because, like I said, maybe you could do it better. Maybe you think that you have a better way of doing something, or you have a better system that other people are not doing it, or possibly you have a business that you think no one else is doing, and you're like, I am the smartest freaking guy in the world, and I'm gonna do this because this is untouched. So there's many different ways and reasons people start a business. It could just be, like I said earlier, you just don't wanna work for the person, and you want their riches and their rewards, and you want that life. I would say it's not just the life that you wanna have, it's the freedom to do what you wanna do, so that you can actually create those memories, right? Because really, at the end of the day, I mean, shit, you can sell everything that you own and you can go live in your car down at the beach, and you could not have any bills and have the life and freedom that you want. But you may not want to have those memories, right? The memories that you create living in your car down at the beach may not be what you want to have. Your memory could be, having dinner in Greece on the Mediterranean, watching the sun go down. Maybe it's in Africa watching a safari. Maybe it's going to a soccer stadium in Rio de Janeiro. Whatever memory you want to have, the business gives you the money to have the freedom. The freedom and the money give you the ability to go create the memories. But there's some things that a lot of people don't think about when they're on this journey that they want to start a business. And that's what I kind of want to talk about today. Many people don't think about what does it actually take to be successful in a business and have that business give you the return day after day, week after week, year after year, so that that business can actually get you the lifestyle that you want to have. First thing that many people never think about is, how do you scale your business and make it a saleable business? Now, you may be saying, Steve, that's not what I want to do. I don't ever want to sell my business because this is my baby. I'm going to give this and pass it down to my children and children's children, and this is going to be my legacy. Look, that's fine. I got no problem with you creating this legacy. However, I was taught by one of my mentors that if you do not have a sale date with your business, it will never be what's called a saleable asset. If you don't have a saleable asset, that means it can never actually run without you, because you are involved in this. And so we're going to talk about having a sale date, because if you don't have a sale date, you don't have anything. You've got a job, essentially, which is what you don't want. Now, the thing that most people never think about when they're starting a business and they've got one operation that maybe they are doing a bunch of different things, you're doing all the roles and duties, is how do you scale this to operate in multiple markets, right? Maybe have multiple locations. If you want to do something in, let's say you operate in Los Angeles, could you have your same business operate in, for example, San Diego? Could you have it in San Francisco? Could you have it in New York, Miami, right? That's how you know that you have a scalable business model, because it can be duplicated over and over again. The most iconic example of that is going to be, McDonald's, right? You go to McDonald's, and if you are in, again, if you're in Sao Paulo, Brazil, Alaska, or if you are in Tokyo, Japan, besides from a few varieties of what they serve, you're going to get the same basic service. You understand how it works, and you know what the food's going to be. It's just, that is a duplicatable model. And so that's because it's duplicatable and it's systemizable, and it can be operated and set up an operation within hours, days, or weeks once they decide where they're going to go, right? So ask yourself if you have that, because if you don't, that's a challenge that you're going to need to address sooner than later. Now, one of the things you got to think about is when you build your business to make it scalable, right? First thing you want to think of is, to be very basic, could a 7-year-old run your company? Is it so systemized that it's a matter of pushing buttons and doing things very easily? I'll give you another example. Could I tomorrow go into your business, sit down at any person's role or duty, pull out a systems manual, pull out maybe a checklist, and do the job that that person does without ever having to talk to you or ask anyone questions, right? So is it something that if somebody got hit by a bus tomorrow, could someone step in and do that role? If you got hit by a bus tomorrow, could someone step in and do your role? If the answer is no, then you don't have a scalable business model. You have a job, right? The goal of creating a business is have something that runs without you, right? And more importantly, has a sale date, because you got to make sure that you have a sale date when it comes to that. The reality is, if you don't have a plan, right? If you don't have a way of thinking that you're going to systemize this and that you're going to scale it, you basically have 2 exits in this business. So your first exit is you will basically run that business into the ground. Just like if you are going to fly an airplane and that airplane runs out of gas, right? It's going to run into the ground. That's the first challenge. Second challenge is if you don't have a plan to scale your business, your only option is to die with your business. I mean, that's it, right? You either run it into the ground because you are going to be the limiting person. That's the first challenge. Second challenge, if you don't have that, is you are going to basically die with this business, and it's not a business, and it's not a legacy, and it's not anything that you can pass down. And really what you have is you've got a job, and you don't want that. I mean, who really wants that? Again, when we start a business, we do this because we want something for the future. We want more freedom. But sometimes when you want more freedom, you are very simply, all you're doing is you are working for nothing or pennies. And you're doing this for some dream that you don't even know how it looks. You don't have an end destination, right? Who would get in your car and do a road trip and not know where you're going, right? Normally, when you get in your car, when you leave your house and you're going somewhere, you probably know what time you need to be there. You probably know how you're going to be there. You've got maybe Google Maps or Waze or something like that, but you have a plan of getting there. But when you start a business, how many people just start a business? They don't know what they're doing. They just start going. They're just so busy running away from the life that they don't want, which was as an employee, that they have no idea what they're running to. They don't know how long they have. They don't know what it's going to take. They know nothing about where they're going, but they are running at top speed. But what happens? They run out of energy, right? Or they're the ones that end up crashing because you don't know where you're going. You get frustrated. And that is what happens so many times in your business, right? If you're going with someone in the car, normally you're going to ask the person, hey, where are we going? What time do we need to get there? If you are working for someone and you are an employee and you ask that person, hey, what is the goal of this company? Like, what are we doing here? And the person who's in charge, which is you, says, I don't really know. I'm not really sure. I'm just going to wing it and we're going to see where this goes. How much faith do they have in you? More importantly, how long do you think they're going to stick around? When someone else comes and says, hey, I know what I'm doing. I've got a destination. I've got a time. I've got everything. You want to come work for me? What happens then? They go, shit, yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's clueless. I'm going to come work for you. That's what happens when you lose good employees. You lose good employees, not because you're a bad boss, but most of the time it's because you don't have a vision. You don't have a way of tracking and showing where they're going to go. Remember, having a business is not about you. Having a business is about serving, and you're serving other people, and you're making sure that other people are getting something out of that. It's a matter of you being a leader, right? And there's many, many different types of leaderships. And unfortunately, not many people know the difference between being a leader and being a manager. So a leader is the person who inspires people, right? They get them charged up. They see the vision of where things are going, right? That's what coaches are. Coaches are great leaders because they get the teams inspired. Business owners need to learn how to become great leaders. They get the team, they get the employees fired up. They see the vision, they know where they're going. Everyone is on board. That's a great leader. A manager says, I'm tracking your information, and if you don't do it correctly, you're fired. So you need to have both in a company. You need to have the leadership, which is bringing people along, and then you have to have management behind them that's pushing them along. So you always have to have both, but a lot of people confuse being a leader from being a manager. I'll give you an example. Many times business owners, especially when they're starting out, because look, I get it. Your name is on the door. You're the person that is the one that signs the checks. You're the person who's maybe responsible or accountable to make sure payroll's done, right? If there's a lawsuit, you're going to be named on it if somebody messes up. So I understand if you want to be involved in an operation. And many times owners will tell me like, yeah, I get involved. If somebody's screwing up, I'll step in. And I understand that side of that. And it's your business and you have every right to do that. But I want to ask you something else. You know or don't know that I'm an airline pilot and I've been doing this 30 years. And when I work with people and I coach them in their businesses, I use a lot of flying analogies. So I'm going to use an analogy here, a flying analogy. You get on the airplane, you turn right, okay? You go down, you sit in your seat, you buckle up, you put your headphones on, and you are in another world. You don't even think twice, right? You are just happy as can be, and you want to know, making sure that hopefully you're going to be early. If worst case on time, worst case, you're late, right? You never once think that, could I die today? Could today be the day that I die? Because you got on an airplane and you turned right and you went and you sat down in your seat. What if you turned left? Do you know what's left? Well, left is where we sit. That's where the pilots sit. You never think of turning left, right? Never think of sticking your head in the cockpit, telling us what to do, what buttons to push, what dials, what route we should take. Never even comes to mind. You think about that for a second. You trust me. You don't know me. You don't know if I've had a good day, a bad day. You don't know what my training's like. You assume that not only are you going to get there, but you're going to get there on time with all of your luggage and all of your bags, right? 380 people on an aircraft that I fly. I've never had someone come up and start asking me questions and telling me what to do. You trust me as an airline pilot with your life, but you don't trust your employees who you actually hired to do the job. You trained them supposedly to do the job. You hired them, you vetted them, you interviewed them, but yet you still push them out of the way. You put your superhero cape on and you tell them what to do. I don't think in the last 30 years that I could ever remember a time that I've been up in the airplane flying, getting the shit knocked out of us in a thunderstorm or a driving snowstorm, right? Bad inclement weather, whatever the case may be, having an engine failure, an engine on fire. I don't think I've ever once had a passenger come up, knock on the door and say like, hey, Steve, I think you should go maybe about 5 degrees left of track for this weather. Or, I see that you've got an engine low pressure light on. Let me give you some advice on that. Never had that. So my question is why? Why would you trust me, someone you've never met, with your life, maybe your family's lives? You have that inherent trust, but you won't trust your own employees. You don't trust the people that you have vetted, you have interviewed, you have trained to be a part of your team, but you don't trust them. I mean, as pilots, we're not perfect. I'd like to think we are, but the reality is we're not perfect. We make mistakes just like everyone does. We have bad days just like everyone does. But why is it that more airplanes don't crash? That would be the question that I would want to know, right? Why is it that our planes and our track record is much, much better than probably the track record in your business? I'll tell you, it's not that we're perfect. It's that we have perfect systems. And the systems are so fail-proof that they catch the human mistakes and the human errors that airplane pilots and mechanics and rampers and everyone else make because of the systems. So if you look at an airline business, right? I can be in Tokyo, Japan, Rio de Janeiro, London, England, or Los Angeles, California. And if I get into the cockpit with another pilot, I know exactly what that other pilot's going to do. I know what buttons they're going to push, what buttons they're not going to push. I know what their roles are. They know what my roles are. We never second guess each other. We don't do a pre-interview before we fly with that person. The company I work with has over 12,000 pilots. Never once have I had to have a pre-interview with someone to make sure that we're all on the same page. I know inherently when we get in that flight deck, we're all qualified. But more importantly, I know that the systems set up in that business, and the business is so specific and it's so scalable because of our training that we can do that anywhere. Do you have that in your business? Do you have, in other videos and other podcast shows, I talked about the dance when an aircraft comes up to the gate. If you didn't get a chance to watch that, go watch that video. It talks about an aircraft coming up to the gate, right? And all these things happen. That's the perfect system. Us doing these things and you getting on the airplane and trusting me with your life, that's a perfect system. The question is how do you create that system in your business? I mean, airplanes do it. All airlines out there have systems all over the world. They all pretty much follow the same model. No airline says, hey, we're going to do this completely different, right? We're going to do this completely a different way. We're not going to have checklists. We're going to take someone from the audience, someone from a passenger, and we're going to bring them into the cockpit and we're going to give them a shot every day. Right? How would you like it if you got on the airplane with me and I came out and said, hey, everyone, I'm so excited to have you on today. We're going to Hawaii. This is going to be a great flight and wish me luck because this is my first time ever flying the plane. And then I shut the door. How would you feel about that? How would you feel thinking, holy crap, I'm going to freaking die because this person doesn't know what they're doing? Right? We don't do that because we have the trust. You've got to create the trust in your business. What you need to do is you need to create systems that are foolproof. Make your business systems dependent and not people dependent. That's the best thing you can do is make it so that when you have people, they're all interchangeable because the system catches the flaws. And you start it by very, very easily documentation. First things you got to do is you've got to systemize your business, right? Then you've got to automate your business. And then you've got to outsource things that are low level, low enjoyment tasks for your employees. And once you do that, then you set up the training modules so that you can train in your business. In the airline industry, we have what's called IOE, Initial Operating Experience. So what a lot of people don't know and don't realize is that when it comes to flying an airplane, no matter how long I've been a pilot for almost 30 years, and I'm type rated on many, many different types of large aircraft. It doesn't matter when we are done with our training cycle. So let's say I go through Boeing 777 school and I'm done and I've been a pilot for 25 years. I still have to do what's called IOE. IOE is Initial Operating Experience. Okay. What you don't know and what you probably have never been told is that when we are done flying our training, the first time I physically see the aircraft is when passengers are on board. Our training as pilots is so good. Everything is done in our simulators. Now, our simulators cost about $90 million. Aircraft cost about $250 million. But our training and our systemization and everything that we do is done. We can do things that we can't do in the airplane, right? That we can do in the simulators, and we can practice emergencies and all the things that you just can't. You can't get a 40-knot driving snow with zero visibility out in Los Angeles, California, right? But they can put it in the simulator and we can practice it. We can practice losing an engine, right? So my point is that we don't actually see the airplane until passengers are on, and then we fly with a flight check pilot. It's called a check pilot. And we'll fly with them for maybe 2 or 3 cycles so that we understand, okay, when you're coming into the gate, this is what you're looking for. When you're making a turn, look out that window because the wheels are so far behind you. Things like that we learn of actual practically flying the airplane. But all the systems, training, it's all done in the simulator. That is such an amazing business model. So many businesses can learn from pilots and what we do and how we've learned to operate, and airlines. And if you look at the airline, these are the things that you can learn too. So if you haven't had a chance, make sure that you check out an airline and just watch. Next time you're at the airport, watch everything that goes on. It's this dance and it's magical in the business world. And how can that apply to you? So again, just think about, number one, have a sale date with your business. Make sure you have an end date destination. Doesn't mean you have to sell it, but it means that you've now created a saleable asset that runs without you so that you can remove yourself to give yourself the life that you've always wanted. That's first. Second, make sure that you've built a business model that's scalable. Right? Make sure that you can scale this thing so that it can be duplicated. Even if you only have one operation in one market, that's fine. But you are able to duplicate it because you have systems and procedures in place. And then last, think about the training. right? Well, think about how good training could be in your business so that it continues to operate without you, right? Video content like you're watching here, right? Having some type of modules, training modules, frequently asked questions, database library, product knowledge, all these things. This is what you do. So hopefully this helps. Again, I just want to give you some information of what you can do to grow and scale your business. If you haven't had a chance, I'm hoping that you will like and subscribe to this channel because there's going to be a lot more content like this coming out. Just trying to give you some information and some insight about how you can grow and scale your business. So this is High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.